What's up, guys? Whew. It's been a couple weeks. I apologize first and foremost for the lack of uploads. My wife Kelly and I and my son, we moved apartments. We moved into a much nicer townhome in Rancho Cucamonga, California. And as you know, if you've ever moved before, it's a pain in the butt. We moved all of our stuff, and then lo and behold, literally the following week, the week we moved in, my son, we just found out, got a really bad parasite. He got salmonella. So that's been tough with a 1-year-old, and as you know, again, family comes first. So it has been a crazy couple weeks. He's getting a lot better. We are, still dealing with a little bit of residuals from that, but he's feeling a lot better. We're settling into our place, and I just felt like it was a good time to come back to the uploads. The last video has done really well. How to punt a football, body position, arm position. I've got some great feedback on that. It seems you guys are really enjoying that series. In today's video, what we're gonna do is kind of continue with how to punt a football, and we're gonna get into a little bit more advanced topic, how to punt a football, how to hit an Aussie ball. Now the Aussie ball, guys, has many names. Here we call it the Aussie ball. I'm sure Australian guys don't call it an Aussie punt, they call it things like that. I've heard the flip punt, the end over end punt. In one of my previous videos working with Jamie Gillen, the Scottish Hammer, he said in Scotland, they just call it a punt. But at the end of the day, the Aussie ball, the flip-flop, the end-over-end punt, what it is and what it's evolved into is a way to basically not out-kick your coverage. Not to kick the ball in the end zone going inside the 20, right? To be a little more careful with good returners and to control punts that you need more control on. So in today's video, we're gonna go through everything you need to know about the Aussie punt, how to hit it, when it's used, different grips, common mistakes, and yeah, let's get to it. Hey guys, here's a great example and a little intro to the video from Jamie Gillen, aka the Scottish Hammer, talking about how he looks at an Aussie punt, or a punt as he would call it. And then for your, do you do like for lack of a better word, an Aussie ball? You put an end over ender?
Yeah, if I come in and I like to lean it in, tie a bit that way, and my foot does that so you hit more of the fat of the ball. Okay. Because you know when you hear that weird sound like someone's hit the nose of it, ball, yeah. And it's like a, I can't even explain it. Instead of like a thump. Yeah. So because if you hit it there, it's gonna like that. Yeah. Instead of I lean it a little bit in.
So in Scotland, what do you guys call those balls? What'd you call that growing up?
Punt.
So, okay, a punt. Okay, I just because we're here, we call it Aussie ball, but obviously I don't think people.
Americans got to put a name for everything in it.
Yes, we do. We do. Just wanted to remind some of you guys that are new or maybe seeing this channel for the first time, make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you throw a like on the video. Gosh, I hate saying this stuff, but it is important for me to continue to be able to make videos for you guys. Again, the more subscribers, the better. We just hit 500, so thank you guys very much. But again, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe, make sure you throw a like, and again, ask questions down below. The interaction definitely helps this video show up in the algorithm. So now getting back to it, again, with this series, we're gonna try to keep it simple. So with the Aussie ball is gonna be no different. We've had good success so far. The Aussie ball, when is it used? The end over end punt. Primarily, you're gonna use this punt as we're getting close to what we would call like an inside the 20 punt. Let's say the ball for the average high school kid is between the 35 and the 40-yard line. For the average top level high school kid, maybe between the 38 and the 45. If you're a college punter, probably between the 40 and 45. And if you're a really strong, high-level college punter and an NFL punter, those guys use it all over the field, but maybe you're hitting it as far back as ball at midfield. Why it's used? Again, the number one reason, the reason I used it in college, I was one of the first, 10 guys, 5 guys to use this ball in college. Had no clue what I was doing with it, but the general reason I've always thought about using this ball, and obviously it's evolved since then, but it's been to not hit the ball in the end zone. Let's say situation-wise, the ball's on the 45-yard line going in. The offense stalls, and you go out there, you're standing on the opposite 40 if you're standing at 15 yards, so it's a 45-yard punt to get to the goal line. The average kid, especially if they're trying to swing easy, if they're trying to just hit a good ball, a lot of times can hit a 45-yard punt, which would result in a touchback. For those of you that don't know, most teams teach the returners to put their heels on the 10-yard line, and if the ball is going over their head, to let it go, right? You're not supposed to back up if you return it to the 3-yard line to make a fair catch, because statistically speaking, if the ball goes over your head with the trajectory, The gunners aren't gonna have been able to get down in time to cover it. If it bounces at the 4, it rolls in the end zone, your team now gets the ball at the 20. I spent my whole first, second, and third year at UCLA trying to do things like tilt my nose up on inside the 20 punt so the ball didn't turn over on purpose. I tried to punt the ball out of bounds for a couple games, and it became very hard, especially when you factor in wind and rush. You know, trying to hit a 3-8 punt out of bounds on the 5-yard line, it was hard. And I just always felt like I had another club I was trying to hit, another ball I was trying to hit, and most of that, what it led to was inconsistencies. Enter the flip punt. There was a guy called Daniel Sepulveda back in the day, played for Baylor. He was a walk-on linebacker who switched to punter, ended up winning the Ray Guy Award 2 times. There was a video of him on YouTube, and again, not to date myself, but it was in 2007, of him punting. And I watched him, because he was a Ray Guy winner, right? He ended up getting drafted by the Steelers. And he was doing this punt where he was holding it overhand, dropping the nose and hitting it, and it was backspinning. And I thought, it's pretty rad, what is that? So I watched this one grainy video over and over and over and over and over and over again of him hitting this type of punt, not really knowing why he was doing it, but what I could figure out and deduce was that he was doing it plus field, 50 and beyond, and the guys were fair catching a lot of balls between the 8 and the 10-yard line. After doing a little bit more research, I figured out that this was a version of a rugby, Australian rules, punt, whatever you want to call it, where he basically didn't hit the ball in the end zone. It had a backspin on it, and if it got over the returner's head and landed on the floor, that backspin helped the ball kick back, catch, and bounce backwards. I spent weeks trying to figure out how to do this, how to figure out how do I make the ball hit my foot. I thought for a long time you're supposed to hit the point, but when I hit the point, for how strong I was, the ball didn't go anywhere. I was like, what's freaking going on here? So anyways, long story short, eventually I figured it out, and my senior year at UCLA in 2008, I was one of a few guys holding the ball on the top, leaning the ball like this, which we'll go over in a little bit, and I'd hit the ball, and if it went over the returner's head, a lot of times the ball caught. So when it's used, plus field. For the most of the average people watching this, plus field. For some of you stronger guys, if you're playing a big returner, it is a good way to hit a ball that you know is not gonna, go out kick your coverage, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But it's a plus field punt, inside the 20 punt, and you use it for control. All right guys, so number 1, and it'll be on the screen here, we want to go through general rules, general thoughts about the Aussie punt. I think the most important thing to remember is that you are not hitting the point, and I cannot stress that enough. The Aussie ball is meant to be hit around the same place you might hit a kickoff, right? A quarter of the way up the ball. I think the number 1 thing to remember is that you're kicking through the ball and you're not kicking the point, right? You need to get power behind this ball. So the first general rule is where we're striking the ball. We're striking the ball through here, through this part of the ball, and we'll see some video here in a minute. Number 2, general rule is, don't expect this ball to go super far if you're just learning it. It took me months to figure out how to hit this ball, so give it time, give it patience, figure out which grip and which things you like, and make sure you guys are giving it enough time. And then the third general rule is don't be afraid to hit it. I think the other big thing is because you're not feeling and hitting as much of the ball, right? Guys get afraid to really go after the ball because I guess you're hitting less surface area. What I'll say is don't be afraid, do it a million times, rep it in practice, figure out, like I said, which grip, how to hit it, the height, things we'll go over here in a second, but don't be afraid to hit it, understand where you're hitting it, why you're hitting it, and figure out which way, which method works best for you. The next thing we want to talk about is, and probably the most common question I get is, how to grip it. And really there's 2 trains of thought with grips, and we're gonna use a video I have of Jake Bailey, Colby Wadman, and Tristan Vizcaino, videos I've taken over the last few years to go through the grips. First grip, the one I used in college, and probably the easiest one to learn, is the overhand grip. The overhand grip is a little easier to get to for beginners, and you can basically figure it out and think about it kind of like you're holding a can of Coke, right? A can of pop. The overhand grip is simple, guys. You're gonna have your hands over the top of the football. You don't wanna be too high on the ball, and you also don't wanna be too low. A good landmark if you're using a standard football, and again, for me, everyone, for me it might be a little different from everyone else, but I always like to think pointer finger or ring finger close to the top seam of the ball, to the, the top strip of the ball here. For me, I'm probably a little closer to pointer finger, but again, my hands and fingers are evenly spread out. My thumb is on the other side of the ball here, the other side of the bottom seam, and I'm holding it just as I would hold a can of Coke. So again, I would catch the snap, bring my hand over it this way, and hold the ball like this. Here's a good video, guys. This is Jake Bailey from earlier this spring. You can see here a really good example. He catches the snap, the hand gets on top of the ball. The NFL ball obviously doesn't have stripes, you guys, but you see here again, he's moving his hand to the top of the ball, the hand flips over, just like he's holding a can of Coke. Again, you see that the hand doesn't move. You can see again there what he's doing is he's kicking through the bottom fourth of the ball, the bottom third of the ball. He's not kicking the point. And you can see the grip again move to the top. The second grip, you guys, and probably the little bit more advanced one and the harder of the two to master, is the underhand grip. The underhand grip is a little bit harder just because you have more of the ball to work with, in my opinion. You know, I've seen some guys like to hold it a little bit lower. Some guys like to hold the ball a little bit higher. I'm probably somewhere in the middle. Again, as you can see on this Adidas rifle ball, my thumb is close to the R. Okay, so my thumb is above the side seam here. If you look on the bottom, you know, my ring finger is probably the closest to the seam here. I've seen guys use their middle finger for a reference, so they'll spin, catch, get their middle finger on the seam. Again, it's a little bit of comfort for you. I have pretty big hands. But the general rule with the underhand grip is it's somewhere in the middle of the ball. And the reason guys like this is because it gives them a little bit more flexibility on their wrist. Okay, it gives them a little more flexibility to move the nose of the ball, which will go about in the next scene here. But again, the underhand grip is a little more advanced, but for me now, I find it to be a little more comfortable and I have a little bit more control. So here's a video, guys. This is from quite a while ago, but this is Tristan Vizcaino, the former kicker and punter at Washington. Here's a really, really good example of a good underhand grip. Okay, you can see again, his hand is pretty much in the middle of the ball. His thumb is above the side seam. The rest of his hand is underneath the ball. And again, you can see his hand just release the ball nice and easy. He has very good control with his wrist. And you can see he's kicking at a really good spot on the ball, getting a lot of his foot on that bottom part of the ball. And again, some other things that we'll talk about here in a second, but yeah, it's just a really good example of the underhand grip kind of up close and how his hand just floats off the ball from that position. The key here, guys, and the next step is to understand where the ball's hitting our foot. So whether I'm using the overhand grip or the underhand grip, as we already discussed, we're hitting about a third of the way up the ball. You want this part of the ball to hit at the base of your laces, kind of at the bottom of that big bone on your foot. So the ball is going to compress and you're going to be able to punt and push through the ball downfield, okay, here. What we don't want is to hit the tip of the ball, which we'll go through in common mistakes, but again, it's a surface area thing. You're not getting a lot of surface area hitting here, you're getting more hitting here. So we want the ball to sit there. When we talk about grips, I'm holding it, again, in my grip the way I want it to hit my foot. So whether I'm holding the ball like this, or holding the ball like this, when I drop it, again, I want it hitting there on my foot. The next part about this, you guys, is body position and arm position and kind of overall thought process when hitting this ball. And I'm going to use a really good video and example with Colby from the off season. Okay, the first thing to think about with body position and arm position is you have to go after this ball, especially as you're just starting to learn it. I think the biggest mistake and the biggest thing I'll see with guys when they're just getting into it is they're standing tall, they're leaning back, thinking about getting hang time, when I believe it's the exact opposite. Even sometimes more than your normal punt, you have to go after this ball with your shoulders. You have to get downfield with the ball and punch through the ball. You're still swinging up, but again, from the last clip, and you can kind of see Colby hitting the ball at the exact same spot we just talked about, but in this video specifically, you can really see him going downfield. The ball's at a great angle. Okay, so again, if you're looking at the difference between straight down and horizontal, it's definitely closer to straight down, but it's not straight down because we're trying to hit the bottom third of the ball. But again, he has that underhand grip. He's letting his hand off the ball. the ball's floating out, he's hitting that bottom third, but he's really attacking downfield and he's swinging up. So attack downfield with your shoulders, swing up through the ball. Attack downfield with your shoulders, swing up through the ball. But again, this is a really good example of the underhand grip and getting after it downfield. Again, guys, I'll end the video here with one more video of Jake. You know, I think the biggest thing for you guys to remember in all of this is a beginning tutorial, and I'm just trying to give you guys as much information as possible. Again, just to reiterate, if you guys like the information, if you like what you're seeing and you're liking all this stuff, make sure you, for lack of a better word, smash that like button. I can't believe I'm saying that, but you know, show the channel love, because again, I'm working hard for you guys. I'm up, it is currently 7:45 in the morning with my boy Cosme, getting some film in, you know, really trying to just bring you guys as much information as possible before the day starts, before my kid gets up. But again, thank you guys again for the support. Again, sorry for the tangent, but if you're looking at the video of Jake, you can kind of see, if you freeze frame it right on contact, he's hitting the ball right off that big bone. His shoulders are forward, the nose is slightly forward, and again, he's really getting downfield with the ball. I think for you guys with the Aussie punt, it's definitely something that all young punters should incorporate in their game. I definitely think it's something that you guys should work on. You know, a lot of college coaches, a lot of high-level coaches like it. You see guys in the NFL with different variations of it. For now, for you, start with putting the ball on the 40-yard line, you know, 35-yard line. You're standing near midfield. See if you can hit it to the 10. Once you get that down, back up 5 yards, can I still hit it to the 10, right? The Patriots used to say 12 and in, you win. So again, we're not looking to drop the ball on the 2-yard line and sit it down. If you can hit the ball consistently around the 10 on the numbers, it's really gonna help you. Just to wrap it up, guys, I know it's kind of a lot of information. I always think when I go into filming these videos, it's gonna be easy, because I know it right here, but conveying the information is difficult. So again, if you guys have any questions or comments or concerns, please leave them down in the comments below and make sure you guys ask them. The Aussie ball takes time, you guys. The flip punt takes time, but it's definitely a weapon. Going into next year, I'm gonna make sure that all my young guys are starting to learn it, you know, early. You know, I think that it's an important ball. Like I said, I think a lot of coaches like that and want a guy to be able to have that club in their bag, because what you don't want is wind at your back, ball's in the 39-yard line, you need a ball, you know, fair caught at the 10, and you're trying to punt a spiral punt that doesn't go too far, but doesn't go too... The Aussie punt will help. As you get used to it, you'll find your range. I know when I played, I knew that if I kind of missed one and it went too high, I'd still hit it about 34, 35 yards. And if I absolutely smashed one and caught one, I could hit it about 47. So I had about a 10 to 12 yard range, which gave me a lot of help going to the 20, right? If the ball's in the 50 and I smash one, I know it's gonna go down to the 5-yard line. If the ball's on the 35 and I mishit one, I knew the ball was still gonna go to the 15 to 10-yard line. I knew my range. So make sure you guys keep track of your progress, keep track of your range, but again, experiment with the ball. The biggest takeaway from this video, experiment with it, find which grip you like, go after it, feel the ball off your foot. If you ever have questions, leave it in the comments below, message me on all my social medias, which will be here. Thank you for watching this, you guys, and on to the next video. Thanks for watching this video, guys. To continue along with this journey and watch this channel grow, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel.